Don't forget to check out the Sunset Lounge. Check out patreon.com/Sunset Lounge DFW. There you will find, among other things, Beer 30 Sports O'Clock. This is your favorite go-to for discussing craft beer and breweries, all things sports, but mainly college football. Ziggy is the host. He gives you real barbershop sports talk and gives you the tips you need before you lay down those bets. So check out Beer 30 Sports O'Clock and all the great stuff we have for you here at the Sunset Lounge.
Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk. Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
Strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little light strike right outside the window.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip.
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sale. This is a cool night or what? Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
Well. Here we are again. It is another episode of Your Dark Companion. Hi, everybody. It is the 5th of February. Here in the D today, it is cloudy. It's kind of damp. It's almost foggy.
It's fogging ass out there.
Oh, it is? It's
Yeah.
fogging ass out there? Okay, well, I just haven't been out there, out into the hinterlands yet.
The rest of us have. You get to live here.
Yes, I do. I do. But welcome in. It's another Your Dark Companion. Indeed. We got the whole crew here. Shoopy is here. Ashley is here. Becca and Mickey are both here. And I am here, and we are prepared to edify you once again in that way that we do. We have a very, very controversial and very, very interesting fellow on with us today. A guy that I've known for some years. He was a football player here for a while. That was probably our first introduction to him. And he svelte segued into the media. And those are the waters in which he swims today. You will find him doing Cowboys radio with the great Brad Sham, who, by the way, is on tap for a swim through these waters in the not-too-distant future himself.
March 3rd.
But today, we have the great Babe Laufenberg.
Sound of one hand clapping there. Thank you, Ryan. And
Hey,
I
one
love
hand's
it.
better than none.
I don't know that I've necessarily ever been called controversial, but I would hope that would be interesting. I mean, I'll take interesting.
Yeah. Well, in this game, you know, when you're where we are in this game, you have to exaggerate a little
Yeah,
bit.
well, I
you know?
understand. I understand.
I mean, you can't always play things straight up.
Well, you know I won the Heisman, right? And
Yeah,
okay,
I
good.
did know that.
Since we're going to exaggerate.
You are Indiana's only Heisman winner, right?
Yeah, there we go, yes. They just don't know it, and neither does the Heisman Foundation.
How are you, man?
I'm actually doing pretty well. You know, season's long in a good way, and it finishes, and I kind of decompressed a little bit, and unfortunately, they finished too early over the last 29 years. But yeah, and matter of fact, I just got back since we're doing a live show here. Just drove back from Denver and Keystone, Colorado. My older son, Joe Willie, lives up in Denver, works there, so I like driving. People are like, you're driving? What are you doing? I was like, it's cathartic for me.
I'll bet that's a pretty nice drive, too.
Well, there's a lot of open space.
Yeah.
And I always say, if you think we're overcrowded in this country, just get in your car and drive anywhere. Drive an hour outside of Dallas for the most part, right? And you see a lot of open space. Now, you don't see a lot of water and you don't see a lot of restaurants and things of that nature, but
you will see space.
When you leave Amarillo, you go about 200 miles and it's just west, making your way to Denver there. It's just you don't see anything. You don't see a house. You don't see a farm. So for me, it's cathartic. What I do like, Ryan's, is people always say, I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call. You'll be driving. I'll keep you company. I'm like, no. That's why I drive.
Yeah, that's not the idea.
We can talk when I get back. We can go to coffee, have a glass of wine, whatever you want. But I just put my music in and I take in the scenery.
What's your favorite drive?
Boy, that's a good question. I grew up in California, Southern California. So I don't know if you've ever driven up Highway 1 right along the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Carmel, and you go through
Love
Pismo
it.
Beach and all. Oh, there's just, I mean, that. Now, the drive from Amarillo into actually Raton, New Mexico, then you head north on 25, 3 hours. You don't see anyone. It's lovely in its own right, but not quite the scenic beauty of going up Highway 1 in California.
Highway 1's hard to beat.
Oh, it's almost like Disneyland, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like somebody built this. And I guess if you're a man of faith, somebody did build it. But why did he build that and then give us that drive from Amarillo to Raton, New Mexico? Well, the same guy built it if you're of that persuasion. Right?
Well, those who buy it would say he has to test you in that way, you know?
Oh, he tested some people. There's a reason I always say, Ryan, so again, grew up in Southern California, Los Angeles, although people will always say, oh, who'd you live next door to? And I say, no. The L.A. you're thinking of is not the L.A. where I grew up. We had the fireman across the street. We had the butcher at the supermarket next door to us. They always want to hear, well, Jack Nicholson was next door.
Yeah.
And Warren Beatty lived across the street. No, that wasn't the L.A. I grew up in.
What part did you grow up in?
San Fernando Valley, if you're familiar. Your daughter
Kinda.
lived out there, right?
Yes, she
Where
did.
she live?
I'm fairly familiar with the lay of the land.
Okay. Yeah, Canoga Park officially.
Yeah.
So I always kind of narrow it down. I say Southern California. People say, oh, I grew up in Southern. I'd say, oh, well, I'm from L.A. And they say, oh, we're in L.A., San Fernando Valley. And then Canoga Park was a little town.
Yeah.
My dad actually, it was after World War II on the GI Bill, where our house was in the San Fernando Valley. It was nothing but orange groves. Probably similar to kind of what you're doing here in North Texas, as everything is heading north and they're all farms, and now it's Frisco and they're big cities. And so we actually so we're in a tract home. Each house had an orange tree in the backyard that they saved. So it was orange groves. They cut down these orange groves to orange trees, I should say, to build the houses. Mm-hmm. But they left one tree in each backyard. So we had an orange tree that was phenomenal. I mean, it produced oranges. We never bought an orange for 40 years or whatever. It was great.
That's pretty cool of them to leave an orange tree for everybody. Yeah. It's pretty neat.
I think, too, so my dad was a Midwesterner, grew up in Rock Island, Illinois.
Mm-hmm. Part of the Quad Cities.
Yes.
Along with Moline, Davenport, and Bettendorf.
Bettendorf, yeah. There's Tri-Cities, but then you throw Bettendorf in, and that becomes Quad Cities.
That's right.
But that's good. You got Bettendorf. Yeah, so it was funny, too, Ryan. So I know we're going to, I'm assuming, get to sports here in a moment. But
whatever we want.
We go wherever we want,
okay.
babe.
So my dad was an engineer, civil engineer. He actually graduated from high school, Rock Island. And 2 days later, he was in World War II in the Navy. Got out of there, went to St. Ambrose College for 2 years, got called into the Korean War. Got out of there, finished his engineering degree at University of Iowa, and worked around there, worked for the Illinois Bridge Department for a while. Anyway, ultimately went out to, aerospace was out in Southern California, Rocketdyne, Lockheed, all these places. So he was out there and hated it. My dad did not own a pair of shorts. Probably the only house in Southern California where you could go in to the closet or the dresser and you would not find a pair of shorts. And we never went to I went to the beach, of course. We were 30 minutes over the hill, Topanga Canyon. I don't think my dad ever went to the beach. High school, that's all we lived at the beach, obviously. And he used to always wax poetic about the change of seasons, right? In Rock Island, Illinois. Right. This. Finally, I got old enough to realize, the government is not forcing us to live in Los Angeles. You can move. We have a free country here. And I asked him, I don't know how old I was, 20, 21. And I said, Dad, you always talk about the Midwest and the change of seasons. I said, why didn't you ever move back? Why didn't we ever move back? He said, oh, I hated the winter. I said, well, you know, winter is one of those 4 seasons that comes along. So,
yeah, if you're going to be into the 4 seasons,
right.
I mean, you have to, in some way, accommodate all 4 of them, one way or the other,
yes.
you know?
And we did not have the money to have a second home where we lived in Rock Island, Illinois for 9 of the months, and winter hit, and we'd go to Palm Springs.
So where do you go now when you want to just get away for a while?
You know, still have family, brothers and sisters out in Southern California, so I'll go out there. Obviously, my favorite brother is the one that lives in Manhattan Beach. Okay, you know, you live near the beach. All of a sudden, you move up in the
sure.
You move up in the family pecking order. So I'll go out see him and my other brothers sisters out there. But and then I have one brother that lives here in Plano. I came from a family of six kids. Unfortunately, one of my brothers, my older brother, a year older than me, passed away a few years ago. But he was a guy. We're always on the same teams together because, Catholic twins. So we played Little League baseball. I'm 9, he's 10. I'm 10, he's 11. 11, 12. So we played everything together. That was the brother that did that. So, but I love the mountains though. Montana, Idaho. Love fly fishing. Thoreau said, "Most men fish all their lives and never realize it's not the fish they're after." So just being out there if you're a fly fisherman on a river in Montana, Idaho, just by the very definition, you're in a beautiful spot.
Yeah. I don't know if there has been a whole lot of people that I've known who are into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But when they go fishing, they come back, they don't catch nothing.
Yeah.
They don't bitch about it.
No.
You know? They're fine with it.
Well, it goes back to Thoreau.
Yeah.
It's not. So I took both boys. We'd go fishing and out there. And again, it wasn't the fish I was after. It was camaraderie. It was being around them. Now, my older son, Joe Willie, he is a big time. I mean, he's far surpassed me in ability and everything else. Went to school at Boulder. Mm-hmm. Went there for a reason. His weekends were spent, fly fishing, skiing, whatever. Lives in Denver now. And I told him the Thoreau story. And I said, Thoreau said, most men fish all their lives and never realize it's not the fish they're after. I said, what does that say to you? He said, it says Thoreau wasn't a fisherman. So I said, no, that's not. Okay, we'll work on this. I said, you know what? You're going to get older. You're going to have kids, and you're going to realize, oh, now I know what Dad was saying about that Thoreau guy. But isn't it true? There are so many things in life that we do, and it's really not that thing. I go to coffee with people.
Yeah,
love going to coffee, and yes, I like coffee, but it's a chance to just sit down and you talk to people and find out what's going on in their lives.
You just do it for the doing.
Yeah. Yeah, coffee is just a conduit.
Yeah.
Much the same way fishing is. Although trust me, I like to catch fish, but if I end up not catching something or just catching a couple, I don't go home and say, man, that was a bad day.
See, that's what I like about this.
Yeah.
I do it because I get guys like you to come in here and talk about stuff like this. And that's the fun of it for me.
Yeah.
I like the doing of it.
Yeah.
Now, after we're done with it, I don't really know what happens to it. And that's for others to worry about.
You sound like me, Ryan. Doing the Cowboy games, I always say, I don't know how this works, but I sit down at a game and I put this thing on my head and it's got a little microphone here and I talk into it. And then I get emails from servicemen in Guam, servicemen and women, saying, hey, listen to Love You and Brad. And I'm like, wait, how did that happen? I'm sitting here with this headset on here. So I don't know how any of that works. I always used to say, Ryan, Dandy Clean, Dandy Clean?
Yeah. Okay.
Producer at CBS 11. He was my producer for 17 years, one of the greatest guys in the world. And I used to tell him, Dandy, you could do my job. I said, I can't do your job. He said, I'd be terrible at your job. I said, well, you might be terrible, but you could at least get on the air. I don't even know how to get us on the air, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how to cut it. I don't know how to edit tape. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. So I said, you're indispensable. We would not get on the air if I were in charge. You would get on the air. May not be Bob Costas quality, but you could at least get on the air.
Hear that, Ashley?
Oh, Ashley knows. And Ashley knows Dandy.
Yes, I do.
Ashley was with us at CBS 11.
Yes. But I love you too, Mike. So many compliments today. This is great.
I'm just playing. I kid because I love you.
There we go.
Wait, you're playing that you love me? What?
Yeah. So you still enjoying the gig of doing Cowboys color and everything?
I am.
I mean, you and Brad have been together so long now.
Yeah.
How many years?
Well, Brad left us for 3 years,
Yeah.
as you recall, to go do baseball. But so I think this will be my 29th year coming up, or 30th. Brad missed 3 of them. I actually missed 1 of them. So I guess we're like 25, 26 years. And it is amazing how you just play off each other. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know kind of what he's thinking, and he knows what I'm thinking, and it just works.
You get joined at the hip when
Yeah.
you do something like that.
You really do.
With somebody for so long, because you've got to, first of all, you got to develop chemistry.
Yes.
That's the main thing right there. And part of developing chemistry, or maybe this is something that happens because of the chemistry between the two of you, but you wind up being able to get inside each other's head really easily.
We have a few running jokes that maybe only the two of us know, which the beauty of kind of radio, you can do it if you're doing a national TV broadcast. We're going to hear Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt, and I don't think we're going to get a lot of inside jokes in that Super Bowl that you said, what are they talking about? We'll have a few of those where we're just entertaining ourselves. There are times, Ryan's, where I'll just lose Brad. Brad is more a fan and more emotional than I am. I'm pretty removed from the emotional aspect of it, and I'm kind of calling the football game. Now, trust me, I want the Cowboys to win. It's good for everybody, right?
Sure.
But Brad will get disgusted. Brad will get to, and he'll so there are a few times where, Cowboys are down 30 and they run it in from 10 yards out, and the play-by-play call is they go over the right side, and of course, why would you tackle them? Touchdown Baltimore, and it's 30. So we'll get on break. And I'll say, Brad, I can't do this by myself. I said, I'm losing you. He said, I got you. He knows what. But the other one I love about Brad is, and he will say, okay, so looking at the schedule, Philadelphia, if they lose to Jacksonville tomorrow, but Washington beats Minnesota, the Jacksonville loss is an AFC team. It wouldn't go against a conference record, whereas Washington beating Minnesota, that is a conference game. And I'll say, okay, Brad, it's week 3. It's week 3. You're giving me a headache. We can do this in week 17. Let's look ahead to see who beats who and then where that falls. But
and you know what? That did sound like him.
Well,
that did sound like something he would say.
Yeah,
You
so
know him well.
He gets a kick out of it too, I think. Now what I will do, if he starts in on the air, and this is where you would say, what are they talking about? If he starts in with something like that, I'll say, Brad, excuse me, do you have any Excedrin over there? Because I'm getting a headache. I feel a headache coming on, So, no, but I love Brad. I think you talk about chemistry, and it's something that you don't work on. You don't say, hey, let's sit down and have a meeting and see if we can develop some chemistry. But
no, you can't work on it.
I think the bottom line is the both of us know we're both well prepared.
Yeah.
When that game kicks off, for the most part, there's nothing that either one of us have to say, hey, did you see where so-and-so's got the bad ankle? He may or may not play,
Right.
or whatever it is. I never even bring it up to Brad, anything like that for the most part, outside of the, obviously, game time decision people.
I can't imagine him going into a game and not knowing everything that he's supposed to know.
Exactly. And
that's one of the things that makes him great.
Well, and honestly, as an analyst, and I hope he feels the same way as the play-by-play guy with his analyst, there's a great deal of comfort knowing that this guy's on top of it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to catch him up to speed. And we did have a play-by-play guy where there were times where I would have to kind of catch him up to speed.
Yeah.
And, that's not fun, because then you don't know, okay, you don't know that, you don't know this. What else don't you know? But that's never the case with Brad.
No, he is nothing if not fully prepped.
Yeah.
How did you guys get through the trials and turmoil of this season?
Well, here's the bottom line, Rhines. And people will come up to me, you're at the gym, you're having coffee. And especially toward the end of the season, they say, oh boy, babe, it's got to be hard calling those games. Well, I said, well, it's really not. I said, the bottom line is I'm getting paid to go watch an NFL football game. If I start bitching about that, I need to cash it in.
Yeah.
There's some jobs where you say, wow, they are not paying me enough. But now they're not paying me enough just in case my employers are listening. But
You hear that, Jerry?
But no, I mean, let's face it, we're still getting into an NFL game. And I always said, Ryan's, my goal, graduated from college, and I like to keep my goals low so you can achieve them, but was to never have to pay to get into an NFL game. So I've either been a player or announcer for all these years, so I still get in free to all the NFL games.
That's right. You were still on track.
I'm achieving
to achieve that lifetime lifetime goal.
That's like people say, "What's your New Year's resolution?" And I say to drink more wine and more coffee, because I know I can achieve that. Right?
Yeah. Those are easily achievable.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on the new coach? If we may slowly segue off into that realm a little bit.
Yeah. The bottom line is we don't know. I don't know. You don't know. No one knows.
We know nothing about this guy.
We know it was an unsexy hire. Mm-hmm. We know it was kind of out of left. I didn't say it was out of left field. I said it was out of the left field bullpen. That's how left field it was. I'll go back. So we'll take a stroll down memory lane 100 years ago. I'm getting recruited out of high school, and Bill Walsh was the head coach at Stanford. I ultimately signed with Stanford and played for Coach Walsh. And unfortunately, John Elway decided that'd be a good idea the next year, which is why I'm a proud graduate of Indiana University. I always tell people, if I was smart enough to get into Stanford, I was smart enough to know when to leave. And when Elway got there, I said, this doesn't look real good for the Bambino. But so Bill Walsh was with, if you recall, and you may, Bill Walsh was with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes.
Coaching under Paul Brown. He was the offensive coordinator. They had kind of the genesis of the West Coast offense. And he always said it should have really been the Midwest offense because that's where it started up, was in Cincinnati with the Bengals. So Paul Brown retires. Bill Walsh gets passed over for the job. And Paul Brown, of course, not only did he coach the team, he owned the team. So do you remember who succeeded Paul Brown? He lasted a year. It was Tiger Bill Johnson. A name that will not go down in NFL history other than trivia.
I would not have been able to pull that out.
Right. So
I was thinking Clive Rush or somebody like that.
Yeah.
But
Tiger Bill Johnson, who was actually a Texan, an East Texan. But long and short, Paul Brown, I think like the rest of the NFL, thought this Bill Walsh guy was a real bright offensive mind, but wasn't going to make a good head coach. So Coach Walsh, when he got passed over there, and again, he's right under the nose of Paul Brown, who says, yeah, I'm going to go with Tiger Bill Johnson. He thought, I'm going to go to college, become a head coach there, prove myself, and then get back into the NFL. So he goes to Stanford, hard place to win, was there 3 years, had very good teams. And then, of course, San Francisco 49ers came calling. But he was 47 years old when he went to Stanford. So I'm not going to make the comparison of Brian Schottenheimer to Bill Walsh, but there's a guy, Bill Walsh, that was viewed sort of like Schottenheimer, up for these jobs, never got hired. And then it becomes, well, gosh, there's a reason he's not getting hired. So he goes to college, proves himself, and at 47, really at 50, he goes to the 49ers. He's 47 at Stanford.
yeah.
Schottenheimer's 51, has been passed over. So the bottom line is I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't know that he can't do it. I don't know that he can, but we're all going to find out.
Yeah, I just know this. I always pay attention to the way these guys are in their initial press conferences. And I didn't hear him say one thing that I thought that made me go, what?
Right.
Or that I thought was, well, that's kind of odd. That's kind of out there a little bit.
Right.
So either he knows well enough how to play that role, how to get through a press conference like that, or he's really got a clear vision of what he wants to do with this team and what he sees with this team.
Well,
and that says to me, okay, let's give the guy a chance.
Right. And excuse me, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I think at 51, you have learned a lot. And obviously, you grew up in a football family with Marty Schottenheimer. But and I go back to this, Ryan. If you go back, it was 2020, and Dan Campbell and Nick Sirianni were both hired that year. Obviously, we're in COVID, so they did remote press conferences. The media wasn't actually in the room. Mm-hmm. And they may have been the two most wheels-off press conferences I've ever seen in my life. Sirianni was terrible. Dan Campbell, as you recall, was talking about biting a kneecap off, and then you're going to get up, and I'm going to bite the other kneecap off. And the whole world was saying, what is this about? And here, Dan Campbell, we've seen what he has done with Detroit, and Sirianni is going to his second Super Bowl in his 4 years. So I do think sometimes we take away, especially coaches you don't know. I didn't need to watch Pete Carroll's presser out there in Las Vegas, right? We know what he's about.
Right.
But some of the guys, you're like, well, what about this Sirianni guy? Well, let's see what he's about. And then you go, oh, geez. So I think sometimes bottom line is we take too much away from that initial press conference and what they say and how they're going to go about it. I always like this too. Every coach, we're going to be multiple on offense. We're going to be attacking defense. Okay. I just want to hear the coach say, we're going to be really simple on offense, and we're going to kind of follow the Swedish route. And we're going to be very passive on defense, and we don't want to hurt the quarterback.
Right.
So every coach gets up there and they say the same thing. But then, as they say, the proof is in the pudding. We'll see how it turns out.
All right. In just a second, I want to get into coaches you've had.
Okay. Yeah.
That you like. But first, let us tell you that if you like what we're doing here at Your Dark Companion, or you don't like it, let us know. You can reach us via chat under the community tab on the Patreon page. Patreon.com/Your Dark Companion is where you will find that. We are all over social media. We're on Instagram and TikTok. We are at Your Dark Companion at both of those places. On Facebook, we are just plain old garden variety Your Dark Companion. On X, we are at YDC_DFW. You can tell your friends, tell your family. We're out here on Patreon, Spotify. Now catch special episodes of YDC and What's on Mike's Mind on YouTube. There you will find us at the old Gray Wolf 16. That's all one word, Gray with an E. Remember, YDC and the Sunset Lounge are now free. Simply click the free member button at the top of the Patreon page and enjoy our regular shows for free. Also visit patreon.com/Sunset Lounge DFW and patreon.com Your Dark Companion for other fun, interesting, and informational posts. That's what we have going for you here at Stolen Water Media. All right, Babe Laufenberg is with us. You know him from his present time doing Cowboys Color on their radio broadcasts with the great Brad Sham. Quite a tandem these two guys are. They've been around for a long time. They've been together for a long time. They have that chemistry, that thing that makes a good broadcast. But I want to get back into the Bambinos' playing days, and let's talk about coaches you've had and experiences you've had with coaches. Who are your favorites?
It almost sounds like I'm making things up, but I'm going to just throw some names of people that have coached me.
Okay.
Or tried to coach me. You're familiar with Marv Marinovich?
Yes.
High school coach.
Yeah.
My senior year in high school, he and his brother Gary, they got fired about 4 or 5 games into my senior year because they ran us up in the hills in Los Angeles. It was 105 degrees. We'd lost to the team that they had coached, Bishop Amat, where they coached Pat Hayden. We ran barefoot, or we ran in. I went to a Catholic high school, so we had to wear dress shoes.
Yeah.
Couldn't wear tennis shoes.
Right.
So you either ran in your football cleats or your dress shoes or barefoot, because we had no idea this was going to happen. We'd played on a Thursday night. Friday we come in, and they just decided to run us, and guys literally had burns on the bottom of their feet. We're in the emergency room. You can imagine. And so, long and short, there's one of them. Now, here I am too, Ryan. It's my senior year. And back in those days, you didn't get recruited as a fourth grader. You know, your senior year. Right. So I'm sitting there going, oh, and I've got schools obviously looking at me and that. And I'm just like, we just lost 2 of our 4 coaches. And I'm like, oh. But anyway, we survived that. Played for Bill Walsh at Stanford. He was probably the most knowledgeable football person that I'd ever played with. Now, here was the downside, Ryan. I'm 17, coming out of high school. First coach I had, basically, obviously above the high school level. And I just thought everybody was this good, right? I mean, I had no comparison.
Right.
And as my career progressed, and I'm 31 years old, I thought, 31 was my last year here in Dallas. And my age, 31, not 1931, for the uninitiated here. You realize, shoot, the best coach I ever had was the first coach I had. So he was fantastic. Really, really enjoyed him and playing for him. He would come down and bring me into his office every couple of weeks. And I'm a freshman. I'm redshirting, all that. And just talk about life, talk about how
really?
things going. Yeah, not just, he would kind of encourage he'd say, hey, you're doing great. Just keep working, that kind of thing. But then the conversation, that lasted maybe a minute, the football conversation, and then 15 minutes of school, life, family, all that kind of stuff. So he was just fantastic. Obviously played get drafted. Well, I'll go back. So after I transferred from Stanford, I played for Lee Corso for 2 years at Indiana. And I always, to this day, we talk about every 2 weeks. And I always tell Coach Corso, Coach, you're lucky I wasn't a better player. Because he got fired after my senior year. I said, if I were a better player, you'd have still been coaching. You'd have been making half the money. Everybody hates you. I said, you got into TV, you make twice the money. You work half the year, and everybody loves you. I said, so really, I kind of did you a favor by not being a great player. So anyway, Coach Corso there, get drafted by Washington, played for Joe Gibbs there. Obviously, Jimmy Johnson, my last 2 years in Dallas. And I always say I would have loved to have had, I guess who wouldn't have, the Roger Staubach career, the Troy Aikman career, or whatever. You're a great player. You stay in one place your entire career. Start out as a Cowboy, you end as a Cowboy. But on the positive side, I learned a lot from different coaches.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of different ways to do things in any business. So I learned from Joe Gibbs. I learned from Jimmy. I learned from Bill Walsh. Learned from all these different people. Again, different ways to do things. And you're not kind of married to one, this is all I know. So in that regard, it kind of really helped my knowledge of football, to be quite honest.
Sure.
I'll give you a quick example. Joe Gibbs, when we would be short yardage and goal line, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, whatever, we always would call short yardage at the start of the play, or goal line, high right, jumbo, 60 chip. It was always on 2. The snap count was always on 2. Anytime you said goal line to start the play or short yardage, and it was just, he would rather not. How many times do you see it's 3rd and 1 at the 1, 3rd and goal at the 1, and then it's 3rd and goal at the 6 because our guy jumped?
Yeah.
So his philosophy was basically, if they want to get off on the ball at the same time, that's fine, but we're not going to take a chance that we're going to jump. So I'll be watching games many times, and I see it happen, and I'm like, geez, they just need to go with Joe Gibbs, go on 2. So anyway, you pick up different things, and that's a small thing, but you pick up different things from different people. I remember Bill Walsh. Remember Gordon Banks? He was a kind of slot receiver here for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
He was at Stanford when I was there. He's returning, playing Oklahoma.
Well, that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, Gordon Banks, Tiny Banks, little guy. Love Tiny Banks. But anyway, he's a senior at Stanford. I'm a freshman there. And playing Oklahoma in the opener. That was eye-opening, if I can take a stroll down memory lane. I come from high school. Our first game at Stanford, we're playing at Stanford Stadium, my first college game. And on Oklahoma. Thomas Lott was the quarterback. David Overstreet, Billy Sims, and another great backs in the backfield. They're running the wishbone, and the speed. And I'm on just standing there watching this, going, oh, this is not Crespi High School playing Elysian High School. I mean, and it was so funny because we threw the ball up and down. Steve Dills was the quarterback. I think the final was 35-31, but they had so much more talent. I mean, if you were just to take the talent of each team, you probably would have taken 22 guys from Oklahoma, and yet we played with them because of Bill Walsh and his ability to just coach. But anyway, Tiny Banks was returning a kickoff in that game, and this is something that always stuck with me, and here we are 40 years later. But he's returning kickoff, broke one for maybe 60 or 70 or something at the end of the game, and he kind of, as he was returning, he sort of stopped, slowed down, tried to let a guy go by him, and then pick up again. Well, we get into the meeting, and Bill Walsh said, and Gordon played receiver. He wasn't a return specialist.
Right.
And he said, you can do that in the first quarter. Stop, try to get your speed. He said, in the fourth quarter, you don't have the same legs you had in the first quarter. So you just go and you get what you can. You just keep running. You don't stop. You don't try to do all that. And I thought, and isn't it funny? I mean, never returned a kickoff in my life, and you wouldn't want me to, but I was like, makes sense. So there are all these little, I'll call them little nuggets or gems that you picked up along the way that I still, to this day, again, Joe Gibbs, go on 2. Don't take a chance that we're going to lose 5 yards. Go on 2 on a snap count. And what? We'll watch the Super Bowl Sunday, and somebody, and then they're going, and there's something to say. And Joe Gibbs, who's 84, 85, I usually see him every year in Washington. He's at the game on the sideline. We talk. And every time I think of him, he must be sitting there watching the game going, why don't they just go on 2?
What was your take on Jimmy playing for him?
I like.
And I got to tell you, I'm a huge Jimmy acolyte.
Okay.
I'm one of the ones who is absolutely convinced that everything good that happened for the Cowboys while he was here happened because of him.
Yeah. I mean, now he got lucky in the sense that Michael was already here.
Oh, yeah,
Michael,
yeah. He
Troy
did
was
get lucky at everything.
He came in and they had the first pick in the draft, and here's Troy.
But still, those guys were there, and somebody had to make some sense out of it. Yeah. Somebody had to come up with a way for them to play, and Jimmy did.
Yeah, and I'm not taking anything away from Jimmy. And I actually liked playing for Jimmy. And people would always say, are we allowed to swear a little bit on here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. People would always say, God, he's a hard ass, isn't he? And I'm like, not really. I said, here's the deal. I said, he expects you to show up on time, expects you to work hard when you get there, expects when you go home the next day, you study your stuff and you're prepared for practice the next day. And he wants you to do things his way. That's not too much for your employer to ask of an employee, is it? I want you to show up on time. I want you to work when you get here. Doesn't matter the business, right?
Right.
I want you, when you come tomorrow, I want you to be prepared for whatever it is we're doing. And you weren't going to have a problem with Jimmy. Now, ultimately, he may tell you you're not good enough, but you weren't really going to have a problem. Now, the guys that had problems with Jimmy, guys didn't want to come on time, thought they had a better way to do things than Jimmy's way. Mm-hmm. Came in the next day.
But that would have been a pretty big problem with Jimmy.
Then, he is a hard ass. But I always go back to this. Joe Gibbs in Washington, when I played up there, he used to always say, I don't find you, you find yourself. And it's true. If I show up late for a meeting, which, by the way, I never did, I don't go back saying, Joe Gibbs, find me. I'd be like, no, you find yourself.
Yeah.
You came late to the meeting. So in the same regard, that was Jimmy, right? If you did what he asked you to do and all the other good stuff and just show up on time, and again, it wasn't, you're familiar with the asthma field. You were here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So for the uninitiated, we had a conditioning test, and we knew it was going to be June 1. We had to run 16 110s, and we had a certain time to do it in. I think wide receivers and corners, the fast guys, had 13 seconds. Quarterbacks, linebackers, whatever, running backs had 15. O-linemen had 17, yet to run the 110. Then you got a 30-second rest. Well, we knew this. We knew it for a month. So you go out and you run it, so you know you could do it. Mm-hmm. And, boy, that was something when he So I was timing it out, Ryan. So we had 17 seconds as quarterbacks to run these 110 yards, 30-second rest, 110. So I was timing it out, and they were calling it out, 14, 15, 16. So I was hitting it at about 16.5. I didn't want to exert all my energy early, and you had to pace yourself to finish.
Yeah.
Jimmy went off with the whole asthma field thing. One of the kickers, somebody said, Coach, he's got asthma. And that's when Jimmy, I don't care if he's got asthma.
Asthma my ass. The asthma field's over there.
We don't have an asthma field. Get your,
One of the great moments in Cowboys history.
So Ryan's, I probably ran 4.8. I think I ran about 4.2 on the 110s after that because I just said, I am not going to have this guy chew into my ass like that. So again, I was hitting it at about 16, 16, cross the line, 16. I think I was hitting him in like 13. I was fast as a receiver, so I was just taking no chance that this guy was going to get on me. But that was a rude awakening. But no, I really did enjoy playing for Jimmy. I really did. Again, you knew exactly what was expected of you, and it's been interesting for me when you hear, oh, this guy's a player's coach. Players want to get better, and they want to know what's expected of them. So if you can make me a better player, to me, that's a player's coach. And if you tell me exactly, here's what I expect from you. So I always said, I had plenty of guys I could go drink beer with, right? I don't need a coach to be a buddy.
Right.
I need the guy to make me a better player. I want to be a better player. And Jimmy was, again, he would never be thought of as a player's coach, but in my mind, he was a player's coach.
He made you better.
He made you better. He demanded, of you. And again, I go back to all these coaches, and Joe Gibbs used to always say, I can't motivate anybody who doesn't want to be motivated. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
If you have a sorry-ass guy, I don't care who you are, right? You can pull all the strings you want and all the mental gymnastics, and if the guy doesn't want to be motivated, you're not going to motivate him.
You'll never get anything out of him.
Yeah. So, there we go.
What's the best concert you've ever seen?
Oh. Wow, now you got me excited. Now you got me excited.
I'm into hard segues, babe.
I love it. No. For the moment, and as you know, I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan.
Yes.
I'm in high school, junior year, maybe senior year. He's playing the Fabulous Form. He had not been, he wasn't Bruce Springsteen yet. Now he'd hit the cover of Time and Newsweek and all, but he was still. So we go to this concert, and I had been to a bunch of concerts at that time. Me and my buddy, and it was such a physical show back then. Obviously, he's 25 years old or whatever he was at the time, and it was like an epiphany. It was like the greatest thing I had ever seen. And I'll always remember this. They played about an hour and a half. I didn't know that he played these 3-4 hour shows, right? Much smaller world then. Didn't get on the internet to see a set list,
right,
or anything of that nature. So they play for about an hour and a half, and they all come out to the stage, and they're going to take their bow, and me and my buddy are just high-fiving each other, just saying, "Oh, it was unbelievable." And
did you know anything about him
Bruce?
At this time?
Had listened to him.
Yeah.
Had I think probably had Born to Run or whatever. And long and short, I thought they were coming out, and then we're going to do the whole thing for the encore. Come out and play 2 or 3 more songs. Comes out, they take their bow. He says, okay, that's the first half of the show. We're going to take a little break. We'll be back for the second half of the show. And we just looked at each other like, are you kidding me? And he came back out, played another hour and a half, then played about an hour encores. And it was truly, for me, like a moving experience. But I've seen a lot of great shows, but just one where you just said, wow, that knocked me out. And again, I'd probably seen a handful of concerts at that time.
Have you seen him more than any other act?
Yes. Yeah, probably. I never added him up, but I'm going to say around 50, 60 times. Of course, people are like, oh my God. As you know, for a true Springsteen fan, that feels like you've seen him twice. The people that tour the country like the Deadheads and
right.
all that. But, yeah, and the other part is, he's been around. I said, well, just figure it. They're like 50 times. I said, well, figure it out. He's been around 50 years. If I just see him once a year, I've seen him 50 times.
Yeah.
But obviously there were times on that I'd go see him in this city and that city and catch him on the same tour in a number of different places.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him.
Where was it?
It was at a place called Gertie's.
Gertie's.
Here in town. It was over there on Lemon Avenue.
Okay.
It's just to the north of Oak Lawn. The building today still stands. And Gertie's was a place where it was owned by a guy who owned this other place called Mother Blues, and they were pretty adventurous with the acts that they brought in.
Now, what year was this? Or what did he come out with at
This
that
would have
point?
been 73.
73. Wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think he'd come out with anything, at least not that I'd heard.
Got it.
But I read in Rolling Stone one day about this guy who was just tearing it up on the East Coast and just how incredible his shows were and how he would just play all night and how he knew all these old rhythm and blues songs that he'd just whip out. It was just an amazing review for somebody that I'd never heard of.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I kind of filed the name away in my head, and one night I'm driving down Lemon Avenue, and there on the marquee of Gertie's, I see tonight Bruce Springsteen. And I thought, okay, that's the guy that I saw in Rolling Stone.
Oh, that's funny.
And it just so happened that I was friendly with the door girl there, and I knew she would let me in, so I went in. And I thought, I on the way in, I kind of looked around and said, man, it doesn't look like there's anybody here. And I went in there, and counting the help, there were 8 of us.
For the show.
For the show. And yet he and the E Street Band were up there tearing it up like they had a full house. They were just doing it for themselves. And I that spun my head around so much that I really didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
I really couldn't decide, well, is this guy good or not? I mean, they play well and it sounded good, but
why are only 8 people in here?
Yeah. And
that's great.
Well, naturally, the next time he came through here, things had changed a little bit, and he was playing a little bit different room. I think he was playing Moody Coliseum or somewhere like
Bronco
that.
Bowl.
Not a huge one, but somewhere like that. And there were a lot more people who had caught on, and I went there, and the whole thing had gotten a little bit more organized and playing at a bar.
Isn't that a great experience when you're on to somebody like that?
It is when you stumble onto them like that.
Yep. I remember I was Adele was going to play, I believe it was Granada Theater, but I had a friend turn me on to her first album. And I said, oh, well, I'll go check her out. And then, of course, then she had to cancel. Got sick, throat, something. Then the next album came out, I guess 21, I believe, which was huge. And it's like, well, there goes any shot of seeing Adele at the Granada Theater. Of course, when she came back. I remember I saw the 10,000 Maniacs at a little place called the 930 Club in Washington, D.C., when I was playing for the Commanders. And
the Washington football team.
The Washington football team, yeah.
They should have stuck with that name.
Yeah, I don't know why they changed. And well, I mean, I know why they changed initially.
Yeah.
Just don't make us go through 3 name changes. But anyway, I was a 10,000 Maniacs fan, and they were totally unknown. Somebody else, again, typical in those days, had turned me on to the Maniacs, and we go down this 930 Club. It was literally on 930, like 17th Avenue.
Yeah.
So it's called 930 Club, and it was just a bar. And Natalie Merchant, of course, and I was like, they kind of blew me away. And it's always fun though to get in on somebody like that. Where now I think it's harder for a couple of reasons, but now obviously you just get on the internet, you watch anything you want.
Yeah, I mean it would be virtually impossible for me to recreate the Bruce Springsteen experience, or for you to recreate that, because. Now by the time these bands come around here, they've got a little steam behind them, and everybody's seen their stuff. And right off the bat, they're drawing bigger crowds and everything.
Back then, as you know, it was, you were not going to play television. You were not going to play a late night show. You were not going to play.
No.
Now you see these bands on the different late night shows and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So
And I think there was a two-way street back then because, television didn't want them.
they did not want them.
No, because they weren't very big. Most of these bands that have. But the bands didn't want to do it either. Yeah. They thought it was kind of hokey to be on TV, but now everything's changed.
Right. Another great experience I had here was saw Warren Zevon at Club Dada, and then sat in his van after the show.
Oh, really?
Just BSing with him, and it was like, and I love, as I know you do, Warren Zevon, just love him. One of those guys that I don't want to say I don't know how he didn't make it bigger, but his writing, his songs, he's in the top 10 for me, but obviously wasn't for the rest of the country.
Well,
sitting there going,
he's just too different for the mainstream,
I guess. I wouldn't be good at probably predicting stardom for people.
I wouldn't either, but I can always look at them and see why they did or didn't do it.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing was, everybody else had hits with his songs. A little bit like Tom Waits.
Yeah.
Tom Waits is. He's another Jersey Girl. Oh, I love that Springsteen song. Well, it's actually a Tom Waits song that Bruce covered, and they popularize it. So.
But Tom Waits is another who was just too different for the for the mainstream. In fact, I'm a big Steely Dan guy.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought the same thing about them with their first album. It came out that had a couple of hits already, and I listened to that first album and I thought, man, I love this record, but these guys probably aren't going to have any kind of long-term success because they're just too far outside the mainstream.
That's funny.
That was a really good call of mine. I'm proud of that one.
Well, and I love Steely Dan. I'm going to tell them they're in my top 10, but by the time we finish this show, you're going to say, okay, babe, you've just put 48 bands in your top 10. I don't know how that works. But you know what's funny, too, about that, Ryan's, and having an aptitude for whatever it is, has the Graybeard gone to the Bluebird in Nashville?
No.
You're familiar with the Bluebird Cafe?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So
I've never been to Nashville.
Oh, okay.
People tell me I should.
Well, yeah, you should. You should. But if you've been to, I'll take Austin musicians over Nashville.
Yeah.
Nashville, to me, is a little bit, I don't want to say contrived or, you kind of get the bro country going on there now, whereas to me, Austin has really got those authentic guys down there. But anyway, buddy of mine from high school, he's in the music business. He lives in Nashville, and he took me to the Bluebird. It's not easy to get into. Anyway, so the artists will sit around this circular table, almost like the old Charlie Rose show. They've just got a base little table in this bar, and everybody looks in, and you're just seated at these tables at the bar, so to speak, and they're at a circular table, and there'll be 2 or 3 guys there. The one guy was the guy that wrote the dance when I was there for Garth Brooks, which obviously became huge, or is huge. Anyway, there was another guy there, and he had written a song, and he introed it, and first he talks about it, and then they play it on their little acoustic guitar. But he was the writer, and he said he had turned in the song for this album. Now I believe it's Lady A. Is that correct? Lady A. I Need Someone. Is that their song? It's I Need You Now. And I need you
after
now.
One, I'm a little drunk and I need you now.
Who hasn't said that?
Thank you. Everybody said it.
Right.
Everybody's been it.
But it's 3:15, and I needed you an hour ago because I'm about ready to pass out here. There's that version. But anyway, so this guy gets up, and he had written that song, but he had written a song for Lady A or whatnot, and for their new album that was coming out. This is, obviously 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was. But he said, they called and said, hey, can you give us another song? We're kind of one short. So he said, sure, whipped something up, sent it out. 3 months later, he kind of forgot about it, and the A&R guy says, hey, just want to let you know, your song is going to be our first single. And he said, oh, that's awesome. And he thought it was the first song that he had turned in, not the one that we're playing right now.
Yeah.
And he told him, well, that's not the good song. I Need Someone is not the good song is the first one I turned in. And So basically, he said, shows you how much I know about what a hit record sounds like, right? So I always love that. Here's a guy that's what he does for a living and says, no, the good song is this one. I remember Troy Aikman did a Miller Lite commercial. I'll never forget. I was in, Cowboys were playing the 49ers in the preseason, and he did that Miller Lite. You know, the phone went off, and I don't live in the past, and the phone goes off.
Right.
Anyway, long and short, I'm seeing it in our booth, and I'm laughing. I'm like, that is great. I texted him or talked to him later and said, hey, I love that. That's finally you did something that's entertaining. Okay, that was good. And he said they shot it like 4 different ways, 4 different things, and they settled on that one. And of course, he said, well, that's not the good one. The good one is the third take, not that second take. And of course, it became very popular. And he said, basically, that's why they have people deciding what we're going to use. So I always like those where we think we're smarter than the person that does this for a living.
Yeah, those
like,
guys know.
Yeah, okay.
In the end game, those guys generally do know.
It's like I always said, I've had 2 back surgeries, had knee surgery, whatever. But anyway, I never went into the surgeon, and he said, okay, so we're going to go about an inch to the right of the spine there. I've never said, no, doc, what do you think about going like a half inch, and that way we wouldn't, no, you just, you defer to those people, right?
Yeah, some people you just can't second guess.
Yeah.
If you're smart.
Outside of play callers, offensive play callers, and we second guess the hell out of them. I do always
That's why they're there.
I remember Ryan's, I would go up into Ernie Zampisi's office when he was the offensive coordinator here for the Cowboys, and I'd sit there on Friday. Now, I wasn't playing. I mean, I was done, but I was doing the games, all that, whatever. And I'd sit there, and he'd go through the game plan. We'd talk for 30 minutes, just sitting there BSing kind of. And he said one time, he said, babe, I learned a long time ago. He said, if the play works, it's a good call. If play doesn't work, it's a bad call, and you just got to accept that. Right? So there's reasons why they call these plays.
Yeah.
They've studied,
there's an idea behind it.
They don't just ran. But he just said, and so if you do that after the game, and you say, hey, you guys ran the reverse, you were sitting there at the 1, you lost 6 yards, you just say, yeah, it was a bad call. That just kind of puts an end to it, doesn't it?
That's it. Not much left
nobody
to be said
cares.
after that.
Nobody cares when you say, well, they were playing a front, they were playing a 3-4, and they had overshifted, and we knew if the safety came down, we were going to be able to get outside on that reverse. And no, it's a bad call.
Who do you think the best offensive coordinator the Cowboys have had in your time was?
Oh, that's a good question. Now, I was here after Coach Landry, so I cannot speak to that, but gosh, you got to go Norv Turner, right?
He would be the first to come to mind.
Not to mention the fact that he really kind of turned it around. We'd had Dave Shula for 2 years, the 2 years that I was here, and then Norv came in, and a big part of it too is, I always say, every coach is selling something, and many times it's something different, but they're all selling something. And the whole key is, are you guys going to buy into it? So you can be the best X's and O's guys in the world. But if your guys, and it's true of any business, right? If your people are buying into what you're selling, you're halfway home.
I've always heard that at the end of the day, the creed for every coach is he's just saying to his players, let me coach you. If you let me coach you, we will win. We will have success. Yeah. But if you don't let me coach you, then I won't have success, and neither will you.
Yeah. And I think right now Dan Campbell's probably a great example of that up in Detroit. I mean, as we know, that was a losing franchise for so many years. And I don't like the word culture. I just think it gets tossed around too much, this culture, that culture. Everybody, you got a game plan of sorts. I don't mean the physical game plan of going out and playing on a Sunday. I mean, everybody has a game plan for how we want to do things. And again, I always go back to any company, any organization. Here's what we're going to set forth. Here's how we're going to do it. Then you got to get the people. My guess is Steve Jobs, when he was at Apple, got people to buy into what he was doing. I'll never forget this story. It's a Steve Jobs. He goes to, you've been to a car show, I'm sure, in the radio business.
Sure.
So you go there, and anyway, he said, you go to the car show, and he said, there's this great futuristic model that's going to come out in 3 years or something. You see it and you love it and you fall in love with it. But he said 3 years later, it rolls off the assembly line. It looks like every other car you've ever seen. And he said, what happened? How did they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? And he said, what happens is they go into production, and production gives them 19 ways why they can't produce it. They go to engineering, 19 ways why they can't engineer the car, and then they go into sales and they get 19 ways why they can't sell that car. He said, so when I had the idea for the self-contained iMac, which now would be foreign to anybody under the age of about 30 or whatever, he said, sure enough, I came in, can't do it, can't sell it, can't produce it. He said, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it for 2 reasons. He said, number 1, I think it's a damn good idea. He said, number 2, I own the company. Now, to me, number 2 supersedes. You don't even have to get to number 2 is really number 1. I own the company.
Yeah.
So he pushed that through. Again, that's self. If you recall, people, depending on your age, you used to have that tower, right? About 4 feet, looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa over there underneath your desk, and then you had the monitor. So his idea for the self-contained thing. So I do think there's a lot to pushing through your idea. You know, Dan Campbell, again, I go back to Dan Campbell. He sold something in Detroit, and they bought into it. And now he's got that set up to where I think if you were to become a Detroit Lion, you already know what's expected of you.
Yeah.
There's no, and that was the way it was with Jimmy. When you came to the Cowboys, as John Roper found out when he fell asleep in a special teams meeting, when you came to the Cowboys, you didn't walk out of a meeting saying, wow, where did that come from? Like, Jimmy went off. It's like, yeah, well, it's the way it is around here. If you don't do what you're told.
Yeah, Dan Campbell has created a brand.
Hadn't he?
He really has. Well, babe, thank you for doing this, man.
Rhynes, thank you. I can I say I had fun?
I would love it if you said you had fun.
I had fun. I hope. Here's my thing too, though. You know, you tell these stories and you have all these things that come to you.
That's what we do around here.
Yeah, and you hope that the people that are watching and listening have fun.
They will. They will, because they love you.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. No, I really enjoyed it. And Rhynes, you know, I've always been a big fan. And you know what's funny too? So I just had my 65th birthday, which is awesome. Because now I click that box, you know, when you're booking a hotel room, or I got my fishing license in Colorado, I get to click senior citizen. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Give me my discount. And but as you get older, you really do start to appreciate just the people that you've come across in your life, and be it high school people like you, and as I've slowed down in my work, I've had a chance to reconnect with a lot of people. I try to make it a point to kind of reconnect. The funny thing is, many times people think you want something. You know, if they haven't heard from me for a while, and you've been there, it's like, I'll never forget Daryl Razor Ray. I had texted him, hey, we can go into the music thing here. They were talking about him. He was talking on the ticket, and they were, Gordon Lightfoot had just passed, and they were kind of downplaying Lightfoot, saying, he had one song, this, that, and I love Gordon Lightfoot.
As do I.
And I was actually taking my son, Joe Willie. We were going to go see Gordon Lightfoot out in California. And they canceled the show, or postponed the show. And then ultimately they postponed it because he passed away about 4 weeks later. But anyway, I texted Razor, and he was on with these guys. And of course, Razor's Canadian, as is Gordon Lightfoot.
Right.
And I texted him and I said, hey, Razor, let me know a good time to call you. I don't like calling people. I like to get a window for when.
Right.
When do we call people? When we get in a car and we don't have anything to do. My brother's famous for that. I'm driving to the gym. I thought I'd give you a call. Well, I'm doing things. Just because you're not doesn't mean I'm not. So anyway, I said, Razor, let me know when you got 5 minutes. I said, I don't need anything. I don't want anything. So when he called or whatnot, he got a big kick out of that, because he said, as soon as I saw, you're waiting for, hey, can you MC this? Is there any way you can get Jamie Benn to donate for this charity? You know, and so I always say up front, don't want or need anything, just want to talk to you. And we went through the whole Lightfoot thing.
That's a good way to approach it.
It is, because how many times do you get a text from someone and you're saying, you haven't heard from them in a while, and you're thinking, okay, what do they need? What? This just in.
This
just in.
Okay, yes, this just in.
Brian Schottenheimer has been fired already. I mean, he hadn't been on the job for a week.
No, I should have been making notes here about this.
They canceled the Luka trade. No.
Oh, Can I tell you something? They canceled the Luka trade would be less shocking to me when I was seeing this thing saying they traded Luka.
It's a whole thing.
Well, it was only a matter of time before some enterprising soul out there came up with a spoof about this. And we have that spoof. Is there any other data we need on this, Shoopy?
I think it's good to know that Eric Nadel wrote the lyrics to this.
Oh, yes. Eric Nadel is involved in the creation of this. Now, he didn't tell me exactly how, but he wrote the lyrics to it?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the new song.
Yes.
Dan
Navarro, yeah.
Dan Navarro. Yep.
So he was the singer, and Eric wrote the lyrics, and here we go.
They traded Luka. What the hell they do that for? I have been a loyal fan, and now my face is on the floor. He may be sometimes overweight, but we can overlook that trait. We don't have Luka anymore. He doesn't play here anymore. No, he don't play here anymore. We love our Luka, but they shoved him out the door. He led us to the final round, and all he did was score and score. Yeah, he complained and get a fine, but when the game was on the line, you wanted him to have the ball. He get the final shot to fall, and we'd be winners, one and all. Oh man, Luka, say it isn't so. You belong in Dallas. What's going on? Some say we'll be okay, but now is really not the time. Don't even wanna watch them play. We're like the victims of a crime. The trade has really made us cry. We sit here asking Nico why he doesn't play here anymore. No, he don't play here anymore. We don't have Luka anymore. They traded Luka. What the hell they do that for? I have been a loyal fan, and now my face is on the floor. You know he's gonna help LA. I'm still believing there's no way that our boy Luka's really gone, or that he's teammates with LeBron. What the hell is going on? We're like the victims of a crime. Somebody better tell us why he doesn't play here anymore. No, he don't play here anymore. We don't have Luka anymore.
Yay.
All right.
Greatness.
Yes.
So Eric Nadel wrote it,
Eric Nadel wrote the lyrics to that.
and Dan Navarro
Sang it.
sang it and
Or
played it.
performed and all that, yeah.
So is Eric now officially the Bernie Taupin? And
I guess he
and
is.
Dan Navarro is
I
Elton
guess he
John?
is.
Turns out the guy can write.
I love it. Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
What a surprise. You ever seen a bigger sports story around here than that?
I mean, I guess the Jimmy firing or parting ways and Barry hired the next door. I mean, that was the next day, excuse me. That was pretty big.
That was big.
You were around for the Herschel trade.
Herschel trade, yeah. I'll never forget the Herschel trade because I'm over there on the sideline. Back in the day when you didn't have the headset in the quarterback's head to where you could just call it in. And so I'm signaling plays to Troy. Of course, I'm getting in my headset and signal them out. Herschel has we're playing Green Bay. We're at Green Bay at Lambeau. And I'm like, why? Why are we not giving the ball to Herschel? And I had no idea that this trade was in the works to trade Herschel to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And, we were 1-15 that year, so it goes without saying we were getting beat. And I'm like, we have one good player on offense, and we're not giving him the ball. And then, of course, the next day, walk in and find out Herschel had been traded, and they were making sure that he didn't get hurt, and the trade would fall through. Obviously, we didn't know that, but so a little similar to that, and I guess I was more closely aligned to that one than obviously the Luka trade, but it didn't matter. They both blindsided me, so I was just probably an idiot walking around the locker room like everybody else.
It's still hard to get your head around.
Yeah, and I do this, so Ryan, I always defer to the people that are in the building. They know more about what's going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find out things down the road or whatever the case may be. There's a reason for them doing what they did. Again, the Herschel Walker trade. I'm like, we just traded. We have one good player, and we just traded him. What are we doing? And
for draft picks.
Then you say, oh, well, that worked out. Now, I will tell you, there are times, too, where I defer, and I really do, to the building, whatever that building is, and say, well, they know what they're doing over there. There must be a reason for this. And then sometimes you find out, you know what, they don't know what they're doing. There was no reason for whatever team that was doing what they just did.
I don't think I've ever seen quite the emotional
vitriol
kick to the vitriol and the kick to the stomach of the fans that this has caused, though.
Yeah. No,
I mean, this is just beating the life out of everybody.
Everybody but my nephew who lives in Southern California and who is a huge Laker fan who's just sent me a text, after it happened, said, "Thank you, Uncle Babe." I said, well, you're welcome, but I really didn't have anything to do with it.
I've got nephews out there in that same boat, and I expect to hear from them at any time now. In fact, I'm surprised that I
was just going to say, I'm disappointed that they haven't.
Yeah, but they're there, and I know they're flipping over this.
Yeah.
Man, I've never seen such a story that's caused an emotional outburst and just been such a buzzkill for everybody like this has been.
Yeah, and let me ask you, do you think a big part of it is it just came from nowhere?
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it.
I mean, certainly not the same, but McCarthy, he's been on thin ice, it seems like, for 3 years now, right? Since they lost to San Francisco in the playoff game his second year. It seems like there's never been this true belief in him and this season and all that. And so, again, not that there was going to be the emotional attachment to Mike McCarthy that there was to a player like Luka, but I mean, I'm in Keystone, Colorado. I'm in a loft. My high school buddy has a 1-bedroom up there, and anyway, I think I'm on my iPad, and I get a text, and I see, hey, did you hear they traded Luka? And I just thought, okay, where's this coming from?
Yeah.
I'm Joe, and I live in my grandmother's basement with my bong and my dog.com, right?
Yeah.
Like, where is this? And then as you're going on, you're like, wow, this is happening. But was your initial reaction? And did you see it that night?
Yeah, I did see it that night. Okay. I saw it just a few minutes after it came down. And
the first time you saw it, wherever you saw it, did you say, okay, wait a minute?
I just said, what?
Yeah.
What? I mean, who's doing that? Have I been hacked or something?
Right.
And I just started aimlessly scrolling on my phone, and I was out I was at a place while I was doing all this.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I would look up at people every now and then, see if anybody else was seeing this, trying to be subtle about it and everything. And finally, I just kind of put my phone away, and there I looked across the way, and there were a bunch of people looking at me. And we both had this same...
Like, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Are you seeing what I'm seeing, and what do you know about this?
Right.
I don't know nothing about it, man.
Right.
You're the authority, Mike.
I'm just out having a pop, man. I don't know nothing about this.
That was one of my great moments, or inglorious moments, if you will. I used to MC the Mavericks Tuxes and Tennies fundraiser. It's their big fundraiser for the year. So I'm emceeing. The great thing is, so I'm introducing the players, and they have sponsor tables. It's a relatively small deal. I believe it was at the Anatole, but there might be 20 tables of 8 or something. It wasn't one of those huge ballroom deals.
Right.
But they've got all their big time heavy hitter sponsors. So the player would come out, and then I would announce them, and okay, you'll be with the Rhyners at table 8, and then the table 8 would all clap, and then the next player would bring up the player with the wife or significant other. And so it was, I think it was Sarah Melton was the PR director at the time.
Right.
And it's like, okay, Mike Rhyner. Tiffany is not with Mike Rhyner. It's Gloria. So like these names of the single players were changing. Right. The married guys, it's obviously it's his wife. And I'm just thinking, if I screw up and I say, okay, please welcome Mike and Tiffany to table 8, and she'd look at me like I'm Gloria, and I'm like, oh no. So there was more pressure on me that night than I'd felt in my life. But that night, Ryan's, was the night that Big Don Nelson had the falling out. Del Harris, remember?
Yeah.
Took over, and it was that night the next day. And I'm sitting there, I'm seeing all this kind of taking place, and I don't have my reporter's hat on, right? I'm emceeing. I'm at CBS 11 at the time, but
just having a good time.
And the next day, I'm thinking, how did I miss any of this? Because then I'd seen where like Cuban was going into a corner with Big Don, and then Del, and all these little. But I'm just thinking, they're talking about whatever, right? Possible trade. Who knows what? But never in my wildest dreams did I anticipate that I'd be in the middle of all this and be completely oblivious to all of it. That's when I said they should just fire me. I mean, I'm right there.
They can't fire you, babe.
Well,
you're too good of a guy.
Well,
you're everybody's favorite.
No. That's so funny. No.
Well, thanks for doing this, man.
No, I had a great time.
I really appreciate it, and I hope you did enjoy yourself.
Do you need my Social Security number to fill out on the 1099?
You can give it to me.
Yeah, give it to Shoopy. He's the one who handles all that stuff.
Bank account info, too.
I love it.
But this has been your Dark Companion. Thank you very much for watching. Again, check us out on social media. Tell us what you think about what we're doing. We want to know. We want to make this thing better for you, the YDC consumer. Shoopy, Ashley, Mickey, Becca, I'm Mike. Out.
All right. I'm gonna go take my pants off.
Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation.